Good. All right, call this meeting to order on Wednesday, January 28th. First order, pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Jeff been one of those others? Just for attendance? All board members present, the exception of Jeff. Okay. Was meeting properly notified?
Yes, it was, and as a reminder, it's also being live streamed and recorded.
Any comments? No? Okay. Then we'll jump into highlight on youth, kids care. Eric Kirchhoff.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, thank you for having me today. Okay.
I will also just give me 1 second, share it so folks at home can see it.
So on this page right here was one of our field trips that we did. We kind of did a bigger picture on that one. Go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about me. I currently live in Hammond, so I'm very local. I have 2 boys, Carson and Lucas, and then my spouse, Josh. Both the boys are in 5th grade and 8th grade, and they go to the middle school, attend SCC. I've been with the school district now. I was hired in November of 2024. So I've been there for a little bit over a year in the kids care director position. So right now our current staffing, we have 2 full-time teachers, 2 part-time teachers. I do have high school students, so they're my door attendants. So they walk for students when they're picked up by their parents. Currently my kids care staff are completed or taking the para training course for SPED. And then they also are active during the day as paras as well throughout the school. I also do something else I didn't add in there too is I'm very big on having meetings with my staff and getting to know my teacher. So I do have monthly meetings as well. We kind of go over the agenda, kind of what's happening, and I get their input as well, kind of about how the kids care program is going. So this was last summer. So when I came into the position, I kind of really wanted to revamp a few things about the program. And one of the things is I love summer and I want the kids to have fun and have a good summer as well. So I really wanted to do field trips. I wanted to have a schedule, a daily schedule that the kids can also have a little bit of some craft curriculum time, some fun time, go outside. It's huge during the summer. We only get 3 months of it. And I wanted to make sure that we also did those field trips. So I had 92 students enrolled this past summer. They do have various schedules. So I make our schedule for our summer camp. Parents can pick 2 days of the week that they need care, 3 days of the week, obviously full time. Some also just stay for our care just through summer school. Some only came in July. So it's very, very flexible for families. And I think that was also really important. We went on 16 field trips this summer. Our most loved one was Sea Life. We did a behind the scenes tour there, as well as the White Pine Berry Farm. And like I said, I really wanted to have fun and just enjoy summer with our kids. So there's some pictures that we did about summer. We had a bike day on Fridays. So we kind of coned off the back of the parking lot. The kids got to bring in their bikes and their scooters, something different, something fun. I also had in-house field trips with Bruce the bug guy. He brought some bugs into the cafeteria at the elementary school. We had bubble fun as well. We also went to the library, the Roberts Library, and did some more community events with them twice. We did that for twice this summer. And then I also split up my kids for field trips. So kindergarten and 1st grade went together on field trips. And then 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade went on field trips together. They didn't go at the same time. Tuesday was one day, and then Wednesday was another field trip day. And then, so this year we have 60 students enrolled. We offer AM and PM care. Some families choose both. Some just do AM care. Some do PM care. We also do full day care for school, professional development days. So then we're open from 6 to 5:45 on those days. And then we also have full day care during breaks too. That's something that I incorporated a little bit new. I tested it out during winter break. We had 2 days that we were open for that. And I'm also probably going to do most likely spring break as well and kind of keep a couple days open for parents to kind of have some care. And so far this year, we've done 3 field trips. I like to always do a field trip on those full days. So I'm going to start doing registration soon for the summer. My big goal is to increase our enrollment. I really want to make it huge and fun and get as much students as I can and boost that up. So I really want to promote it a little bit more specifically for the summer. And I really want to do more field trips. So I kind of did a survey with our teachers and our parents. And they would like to do a couple more field trips that we normally we just did 1 a week. So I really want to do that, maybe somewhere different community ones as well. So I am always up for ideas. So for any field trips. So right now, a couple of things. I am in a director cohort in Eau Claire. So I meet with other directors and just kind of know things with licensing. So we're also licensed for kids care through the state of Wisconsin. So I want to keep up to date with anything that changes in there. I'm also part of a local school directors and collaboration. So with River Falls, the Tiger Pack in New Richmond, we kind of bounce ideas off of each other and kind of have a big community. So that's really nice to have. And then I'm also now part of the Eau Claire Chamber of Congress. So they do rallies for legislation. And I really want to put forefront of childcare on legislation's mind and even as well as the school district with teachers and paras and just really be a voice for the school and for early education. So I have my first rally in February 19th in Madison, and I plan to send out a big email to our elementary staff of some feedback to take to legislation and just really be a voice for school districts. So my future goals are, of course, increase our enrollment, do a little bit more community events as well, and just have our staff there, me there. And then just further collaboration with our community schools. Thank you guys for having me. You guys have any questions for me that I can answer?
I have 2.
Sure.
You said you'd like to get the word out a little bit more. What you need
Like
help with that?
Facebook or going to like more of these maybe attend here. I know there's like that big event.
I don't think you're
coming.
going to get a lot of clicks off of attending this meeting. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention.
So anything that, I mean, I'm kind of newer to the district as well. So if you guys have any feedback for me too, that'd be helpful for me to go and kind of just show my face, promote, kids care a little bit, I think would be huge. I'm also not against taking neighboring schools. I did have a student from Baldwin that I had that summer because they only had 60 enrolled that they could take for kids. So even if we take other kids from different districts into for our enrollment as
Might
well.
want to get with somebody.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Second question is, if
Yes.
you go from 92 to 120, do you have to hire another full-time?
I would, yeah. So I would have to base it on enrollment. So that's why I like to do enrollment ahead of time. And I usually like to have it done by April so that I can kind of see what I would need for staffing. And I do have a lot of paras that come for the summer and work for me, as well as I know I've had some teachers that are interested. I put out a big email, to all staff. If
Sure.
anybody's interested in doing kids care, as well for staffing, and then my current staff too. And then I also am in classrooms as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got one quick one.
Yeah.
The cohorts that you're a part of.
Yeah.
Are there any ideas that you guys have talked about that you haven't implemented yet that you'd like to over the next year or two?
Yeah, so a big one is doing a huge field trip, like promoting 50 AM and PM care for school agers through other districts. So I went to a convention for field trips a couple weeks ago, and they have like ninja courses and like just huge big things that they can do and just kind of also do a community event for directors. But it's really expensive. So I'd like to do other school districts to kind of help pay for that as well and kind of do something like that. Yeah, I get, so a lot of my cohort too, it's a lot of it's for just directly for child care, which is really good because I know, we do 4K at the elementary school as well. So it's really good for me to kind of know a little bit more rules and regulations for that too, as well, not just school agers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
No. All right, the next one, highlight on CTE. So, Amy Stevens. Well, hello.
Welcome. Make my presentation. If I do this too, my name is Amy Stevens. This is my 4th year here at SCC. This is my 25th year teaching. I switched to high school because I really wanted to work with students to get them to their next level. What are we thinking after high school? I come into this position a little unique for CTE because I'm fine arts. My license covers everything I teach, but they added me to the CTE department because of my graphic design class. I'm in my classroom. Let's switch to my next thing. I'm in my classroom as a visual arts teacher. So when I'm in there, these are the things that I'm promoting. Community art frames, student artwork displayed in about 7 different businesses through Hammond and Roberts. So the fine arts, like my students' drawings. This was done for the historical drawings in Roberts for the sesquicentennial last year. And we get involved in the community by putting these out in the businesses, just showing this was an old, I think this is Roberts downtown street. The art shows, color crossing, we have one at Roberts Library, we have one at the high school auditorium at the end of the year. So promoting just the fine arts, visuals, ceramics, painting. I also did the mural at Sidetrack at the end of last year. I took a big bus of kids over to Sidetrack and we started repainting the mural that's outside. I finished it myself over the summer.
Nicer.
The only problem there was the children could only reach so high. And it wasn't safe enough to put all these rafters, like scaffolding outside. So I had to finish most of it on the lift, but yeah. But the community art frames, going back to that one, the displays that we put in there, I rotated at least during the school year 3 times. So Miss Dumont and I put, I don't know how many frames total are out in the community, but the kids go to those places in the community establishments, Barn Board, Raz's, Sidetrack, and the Bobtown, there's one, Carboni's now, district office here. But the kids go in there and then they take pictures with their artwork, and then, they get to sit down and enjoy the establishment too, with their family. I was at the family dentistry, and they came in just to take a picture of them in their artwork. And then the people there were celebrating with them in their artwork. So it was fun to see. I'm glad we brought it. It's a great connection for me to get out and just talk to people in the community too. Next slide, please. So this is the color crossing fall show that I do. So the Patty there, she opens it up, opens the front part, which is usually her lunchroom, and we use it as a museum, and they bring food in, and we have a little reception. It's really well attended, but we always do it the weekend also of the Main Street Christmas walk or whatever in Roberts that they have. So Saturday is open, and we had people come in just randomly, saw our sign, and would look and appreciate the kids' artwork there too. So that's always really good turnout. Next slide, please. And then this is our mural at the Sidetrack. I was able to get some kids there in the summertime too to help me finish it up and get them on ladders. Next slide, please. So then in terms of the uniqueness of my position, where now I'm with the CTE department and I teach graphic design. And I was able to then help with my coworkers start this business, which is, if you say, and these are the things that I offer in my department. Graphic design, we teach off of Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. And those programs are in a lab that's so unique because there's so many districts that can't afford and have those on the computers. So the students that I have are getting way ahead if they're going to go in this field just by having Adobe. It's amazing what they do the next level up for them. what one of the Adobe illustrators they do is the laser cutting and engraving. So this is something done by one of my students. This is what they're going to start to even like sell and make. So like you can just do them cut and have the burn effect. You can have them painted and spray painted. Next month, they're doing a Valentine shop where you say we have little hearts cut out, like frames and things that they can add for like more of a shelf decoration, and spray painted. And then also the senior banners that I do are up in the gym. My students at the end of the year that are in graphic design 2 design the backgrounds. When it comes to the sports and the year, I take pictures and then I'll place them on there. So pretty nice, high quality picture.
Look at that kid. Anybody know?
You can have that.
That was nice of you.
You're welcome. Isn't that nice? He even put the singlet on. He says it's 2 sizes too big for you.
That sounds good.
Right. But I also had, sorry, I'll back up. I also had a community, like, I think it was last year, but a library reached out and then asked me to make banners for their upcoming open house and activity, and I printed them. So I do have community reaching out to make banners as well. Not so much of like signage or nothing like stickers. I make stickers for our businesses, like Miss Hawkins and Miss Razor use my program to make the stickers to promote theirs products. If it's like a sticker on a label or something, and then we design them and the students use them as they do their things. But those are the things that I'm trying to push, are more like the shadow boxes, the printing, the stickers, or the more of the signs. The posters, print small or large. I've done a few like in-house, more things like that. But our websites were just published on our district webpage, so that now you can click on all 8 of them, right? 8 of our businesses down below, and it links them to the website. So now the students or community members should be able to start asking us for our services from our students. I think the biggest one there, do I have one more slide? I think, do I have connected to my website? Yeah, this is like the senior banners, and the one in the middle is a shadow box that's painted. It's only like 5 by 5. And then Tia there, she actually did a topography shadow box. So it's actually reversed, but yes, she did that for Miss Wolberg. That was last year or 2 years ago, not 2. Yeah. And then the next slide, I think I had so that Panther Designs, let's try to click on that for a second. So one of the things too that came out this last trimester is that if you scroll down just a little bit there, Ross Lawn Care, if you know, I was calling Ross, but he wants to start his own business. So one of the students took his idea of and started to brand, make his logo, make his business card, and get him up and running so I also teach, like, what I do is Adobe Illustrator is a branding a service as well too. So can I print car wraps? Yes, but do I know how to apply them? No. So there are some limits and definitely some learning curves still going on. And like the stickers, I'm still trying to figure out how to like price and put those out there and also the posters. Our printer only, can print so wide, and the material I've been trying to find different like quality versus, like what's efficient of even getting here, because like the banner material, it's hard to get at the beginning of the year. I order so much and I only get very little of it because so many people. So it has been it is a learning curve on material stuff. So yes, selling artwork, and then also hopefully bringing back empty bowls. So I also do the graduation program. Displays the slides that are displayed on the school TVs. I have students running. I do the yearbook. I'm a drama set director, and I'm also the DLT leader of my department. So, any questions?
Busy.
I am
Yeah.
busy.
I
I like busy.
the website, some of the stuff you threw up there, I don't know, something like that. Anyone want to order for their kid or Christmas gifts for grandparents or whatever. Is it challenging to kind of put those up and create an order form on the website for any of those programs that you have made that are maybe a bit more repeatable?
So I think this is what you're asking me is like if I had a set template and then take pictures and put a pricing of the exact same thing over and over again, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, I could do that. Students and then just have it. I do like the uniqueness that the kids can come up with it though too, like the creativity part of it, where like just today, I gave all my students in graphic design a real life situation. I'm their client, they're my professional graphic designer, and I say, I need this made for my business because I have a new product that needs to be displayed and sold for this much. How do I get it out? So now they have to use a program to do and how a real life situation would be, right? So yes, am I limited to some things then? Probably. So custom, I guess, is more what I would rather go towards, but we have like these made several of them are like the Valentine's one, so maybe like certain occasions, like graduation or holidays or something, for sure. For sure we could do.
That box is awesome.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an independent student, Aiden Soltis, thank you, Soltis. Independent graphic designer student of mine right now. So he comes in and he's like, what do you need? And I said, how about something like this? And so I give him the idea, but this is his idea that he put together. Yeah. So that's why I kind of like the whole a person coming to my students and saying, I'm kind of thinking about this. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing more kids getting interested in this class?
Now that they're seeing it out and about, yes. I would love to have more help and more buy into the senior banners and developing those. I think they're scared to know what the whole team wants or all the seniors want, you know? But yes. Yeah, I'm very excited. I love the program. I love it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next up, comment by board members and superintendent. So we did have Erica Herring put her resignation in effective yesterday. So just want to take a minute to thank her. She spent a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of effort for the district. So she's listening. Thank you, Erica. Which leads us to our next item here is filling the vacancy. So essentially how we'll do this, we'll fill Erica's first. If that opens up a different one, we'll proceed to fill that one and et cetera until all positions are full. I'm good.
Yep.
See on there yet, by chance?
Yeah, he's on.
Oh, he is? Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I guess I'll start it with the presidency. And I would like to nominate Jeff. So Jeff, I know you sent a communication that you did, but
Yep, I'm happy to do it. Happy to do it. If someone else wants to, I'd happy to support them, but I'm happy to do it. Big shoes to fill.
I made the motion. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Who was up for re-election this spring again?
Derek and I.
Only two.
Correct. So Jeff's selection as president, that does open up his clerk role. So I need a motion to fill that.
I'd throw my name in that for that.
I'll nominate you.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you both. Congratulations.
So that was C, but B, maybe process.
I mean,
the actual opening.
Well, you know
Still
the
one
process
short.
better than the rest of us. Why don't you explain?
All right.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
in the past, I've had some experience with this. So Callie has the posting ready to go tomorrow. Can put that on our website. Anybody that's interested, there's a questionnaire to fill out, 6-ish questions on there, and then whoever fills out that application, the questions, whether it's 1 or 20 people, right? Then it's be submitted to the board before the next board meeting for your review, the board packet. And then those people are invited into to the podium, to the board meeting. That'll be an agenda item for them to just talk about themselves and elaborate on those questions. And then the board in open session then would choose one of those candidates to fill the position. That position then is filled, it's filled through the following April then. It wouldn't be up this April 2026. That position would be in the regular rotation for election the following April 2027.
So is there can we throw a link to that or anything on the website just under this? No.
Yeah, we're
Or is it going to be
typically-
posted to find?
It's on the job vacancies, correct, of district vacancies webpage?
Website?
Yeah,
I think we just put it on, I still put it on the board page.
On the board page?
Board page.
Okay.
I feel like we did that. Yeah. And then
Basic
we'll post it
info
to our Facebook too. We usually do that.
We're on social media, okay.
Thank you. Last one then, so February 18th board meeting.
Yes, I have a conflict on Wednesday, February 18th. I'm wondering if the board, would consider, and if not, I'll move it around, make it work, if possible. But wondering if the board would consider Monday, the 16th. For the February board meeting.
Is there a school that day? President's.
There is.
The 16th would work better for me.
I'm good.
It worked for me.
Do you see a motion to move that then?
Second.
So moving the board meeting from February 18th to the 16th. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
All right. February 16th. All right, next up, scheduled presentations by guests and staff members. So the enrollment project report. Virtual?
Hazel is on, yeah.
Perfect.
All right, I will pull up your presentation, Hazel.
Okay, thank you very much.
The PowerPoint, correct?
The PowerPoint, yes.
Exhibit, yep, all right. All right, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, well, I'm ready. Thank you so much for inviting me and trusting me to do this project for you. I have been doing enrollment projections since 1991, 92. I've done many, well over 200 school districts in, of course, Minnesota, where I'm based, but in Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, South Dakota, Colorado. I have a number of clients in Colorado. So I have a lot of experience in the upper Midwest and to the Mountain West. I've done a lot of work there. So with that said, if we could look at the next slide. Looking at a quick look back, and the point I want to make is that trends are not short term. They occur over a longer period of time. so it's important to look at a longer period of time. I've selected 10 years here. The past does matter. It contains clues about the present and the future. So we want to take a careful look at it. And I want to stress that what we're talking about here is in-person enrollment. I'm not making any projections or assumptions about the virtual charter academy. So next slide, please. Now the enrollment data for the virtual charter academy was reported separately for the first time in the school year 2018-19. So for some of these slides, we'll see a 7-year history. For some of the others, we'll see a 10-year history. And then I'd just reiterate that all the data and analysis are for in-person enrollment. So next slide, please, as we take a quick look at, in your case, the past 7 years. The 4K-12 enrollment decreased by 46 students, or a minus 2.9%. Non-residents account for 10.1%, and I remind you this is in person, 10.1%. Perhaps the most important thing here, overarching, is that the district's resident school-age population decreased, now only slightly, but this is a theme that's going to continue, by just shy of 3% in these 7 years. And resident enrollment decreased by 6.6%, or 98 students, which says that, of course, you lost a little share there. And then, interestingly and importantly, that the net gain loss from other public options, meaning open enrollment or charter schools, this past year was at 0, which after years of net loss. So you've gained, you're bringing in more non-residents than you were 7 years ago in the in-person. So that's something to bear in mind. Here we look at the enrollment, and I must confess, I'm someone who likes to look at numbers, but my audiences basically don't enjoy that so much. So I've tried to do more things graphically, but I want to caution you that graphics can sometimes mislead you a little bit too. But what we see here is a decline that occurred in the pandemic year, 2020-21, where you had a decline of about 100 students. And then you bounce back. It went up a little bit in 22, 23, but now you can see there has been a downward drift. And especially if you look at 22, 23 and compare it with 25, 26, you can see the downward drift of enrollment. Next slide. These are residents not attending. Should have had a couple of caps there. St. Croix Central Schools. To your knowledge, there's no one enrolled in non-public. You don't have data on homeschool, although it's hard for me to believe there aren't a few kids in homeschool. And then we have the open enrollment, and this is open enrollment out. And you can see that it went from 115 to 156 in this period of time, bouncing around a bit. So now key findings as we start to think about what we're seeing and what we're likely to see. And that's really the key thing of what's happening to resident births. And between 2009 and 2024, the decline was almost 16% in the state of Wisconsin, almost 10% in St. Croix County, and almost 18% in the rural townships and small communities that are called the balance of St. Croix County. So what we're seeing here is a real decline in births, and that's, of course, the result of declining fertility and the aging of the population. Resident births have a very particular meaning, and that means on the birth certificate, the mother has listed an address that can be coded to Wisconsin, to St. Croix County, and to specific places without regard to where the child is born. So here I'm showing you St. Croix County and then the balance here. And what's, I think, I don't want to say unique, but a little different is that the county has a sort of erratic pattern, but you see it even more so in the balance, that it bounces around a lot. Now, in the balance of the county, one would expect that because these are small numbers. We might expect a little more stability in the county, but we just see annual variation. And the point I want to make there is that I have tried to put in annual variation in the projections. Now, I may not have the right year, but it does benefit the size of the pool by putting in those annual variations. Okay. Now, this is a table here that as a demographer, demographers like this a lot because it tells us really what's driving change in enrollment. So what you see here is year over year, change in enrollment and the percent that was. And then we have something called natural increase, decrease, and net migration. And at the bottom, I'll give you the definitions of that. Natural decrease is the incoming for kindergarten is smaller than the previous year's grade 12. That is, you are graduating out more students than you're bringing in the next fall. And then net migration measures the number of students who move in or out of the district, make transfers between education options, or drop out of school. Now, not surprising in any way is between 2019 and 20, we saw a decline of 117 students. That is the effect of the pandemic. The following year, you see you had a growth of 116. You basically got them back. And some of them actually had transferred to the virtual academy, but they were not in person. And then you can see following that, you had a year of a growth of 28 and a decline of 36, decline of 3, decline of 40. In those 7 years, the total change was a minus 46 students, which is the number we saw previously. When we look at the natural increase, we need to see natural increase, decrease. You can see with the exception of the 1 year, they're all negative numbers. And the size of the negative number has been growing since 2021. And that costs you 197 students. And then the net migration has largely been positive. We see the large negative in the pandemic year, the recovery, if you will. And then we see a 62, a minus 3, 42, 21, and 151 is the total. And the natural increase, decrease in net migration results then in the total change. So this is very important. It already starts to tell us that we're seeing this trend of natural decrease, and the numbers are getting larger, which says that it appears to be accelerating. Next slide. Then of those 151 net immigration students that we saw in the previous table, 100 were from the transition from 4K to K. That's 66% of all that net migration. The significance of that is that once you have students into the first grade, the students who flow in or out of your in-person enrollment are really quite small, varies, a little bit grade to grade, but no large numbers. Everything is driven by that 4K to K. Next slide, please. So now let's take a look at the next 10 years, 2026-27 to 2035-36. And what I'm projecting here is that enrollment decline continues, and in fact, most likely going to accelerate. The base here was 1,546 in-person students, and the projection is for 1,359 to 1,508, or a minus 38 or a minus 187 students, minus 2.5 or minus 12.1. I can tell you now that highest projection, I think it would be quite a stretch for you to reach that. But We'll talk about the assumptions later. I made 4 cohort projections. They have 2 different kindergarten assumptions and 2 different migration assumptions. There's 149 student difference between the lowest and highest. And in the components of that enrollment change, I'm looking now at how it compares with what we've seen recently and the net migration projecting between 20 and 32 a year. And if you'll recall from that previous slide, we had a -3, 42, and 21 in the past 3 years. Natural decrease in the projections, averaging a -34 to -40 per year. That too is like the recent past. We had -3, 33, -45, and a -61. So you can see it's sort of falling in the middle there, not at the extremes. Next slide, please. Now, interestingly, most often, if we look at the distribution of students by grade in our most recent year, which is 2025-6, we see that it has some predictive value. And these numbers say to me already that we're likely to see enrollment decline because from 4K through 4, the elementary, average 100 students per grade. This is the average. Middle school averages 120 and high school 117. So it tells us, that unless kindergarten or 4K and K become substantially larger than they were in the past couple of years, you will have enrollment decline. Next slide. Okay, here I'm showing you the lowest and highest of the projections. And you'll see we're starting on the left at 1548, and then the darker blue line is the lower projection. And you can see that really after 2029-30, the gap starts to widen significantly between these 2 projections. And that is a result of when the assumptions about 4K and K come into play in the middle school. The high school, incidentally, high school projections are not affected by the assumptions on 4K because 4K students in 2025-26 will be in grade 9 in 2035-36. So all of the high school students in those years are already in school. Okay, next slide. Here, if we are looking at these projections, the highest and the lowest, compared to the enrollment of 25-26, we can see either fairly substantial decline at the elementary to a very modest decline in the first 5 years. The 5 to 8, we see some decline. 9-12 holds up, actually goes up. Then you see what it is. And then in 10 years, again, you see either substantial decline or flatness. And then you see the decline, which really takes hold at the middle school and at the high school grades. Okay, so now let's look at the components of these projections. We want to see how reasonable they are. They're made via the cohort survival method, and this is both a simple and complex method. What it does is it ages each grade by moving it to the next higher grade in the following year. Mortality among school-age children and children basically after the first month of life and the first year of life is very, very low. And in a population your size, we could apply the mortality probabilities and we would not project any deaths because the numbers are so small. But to make these projections, we do have to make assumptions regarding kindergarten. We're going to use resident births as a proxy for that. And then net migration or survival rates for the grade-to-grade projections. Now, the survival rates take into account both mortality and net migration, and it is the percentage versus the raw number. So the first thing we'll look at is the pool for the 4 kindergarten population. And we look here at what we're seeing is 2015 to 25. And the reason we can go back to 2015 is that the virtual academy didn't have any 4K or K students in it. And so what we see here is an interesting pattern. And in fact, until rather recently, you were hovering, somewhere around 34, 35%. And then in 23, 24, it dropped. And now the past 2 years, it's 1% and 30%. The assumption I'm making here is that I averaged the past 5 years, which gets me a 31.97 capture rate, and the past 11 years is 33.69. Unless something pretty dramatic would happen, I can't imagine it's going to get up to 35, 36% again. The difference between these two assumptions, and this I have not stated very well, but in 10 years, the cumulative is 44 students. It's 5 students basically per year in this, but it's 44 students cumulatively. And then longer term, because I through 2024, I have to make projections 2030, 31 to 35, 36. And I'm going to base those projections on the balance of St. Croix County 0-year-olds taken from the projections made by the Wisconsin Department of Health. The balance of the county is about 25% of the birth in St. Croix County. That's been the case for the past 5 years, and I just assume that that percentage will hold. Next slide. So here what I'm showing you is the size of that pool. The top line 25, 26 is this past year. There were 238 potential teachers, and your kindergarten was 72 students from that. Then in the years in bold under the kindergarten pool are years based on actual births. And then the remaining years are the years I've projected. So as you can see, while I didn't bring up anything as high as the 262, the numbers are all certainly within the range. So the point here is that I have not reduced the pool in any sense. And that's based on the fact of those projections from the state of Wisconsin. And basically what we know is that because of the age distribution of women of childbearing age, that the real decline in pool size will occur after 2030. And then what we see in kindergarten projections is we're simply multiplying that 31.97% against the pool, or the 33.69. So what we see here, the low projection, we had 72 students 4K this year. And basically that low projection is running at a higher average than this past year. And then the higher projection is running, virtually 10 students more. And I think that may be I don't think reality is going to come out to that, but at least it gives us a range of that's reasonable. Next slide. So why? Well, it's this lower fertility, which is the measure of the number of births per woman. And we're looking here at what we call completed fertility. That is the number of children born to a woman at the end of her childbearing. And the replacement rate is 2.11. And Wisconsin is at 1.63 in 2023. The US is at 1.62. So we are at well below replacement in births. And the number of births are decreasing in the US and in Wisconsin and virtually everywhere except in these very high growth states. And fertility rates vary by race, ethnicity, and urban rural. Fertility rates for white non-Hispanic women are the lowest. Urban rates are lower than rural rates. And why? Well, the population is aging. Women of prime childbearing age 25 to 34, that's the age of women who are the most likely to give birth in a year, will decrease. And we are just projecting much, much slower growth. A part of this is that, for example, by 2030, nearly 23% of Wisconsin's population will be over the age of 65. And that percentage will just continue to go up. And while St. Croix County's population is projected to increase and be one of the faster growing counties in Wisconsin, it will increase more slowly than it has in the past. And again, it's a function of the shifting age structure of the population and the lower fertility. Okay, so those are the rationale and the numbers that we're going to see putting into 4K. Now we have to look at what's the survival rate or the net in-migration. And as we've noted, it's been positive except for 2 years. But there are 3 patterns that are noteworthy. One I've already touched upon, this large, consistent net inflow between 4K and kindergarten. And there is no net inflow at the beginning of middle school, and there is no net inflow at the beginning of high school. The latter is true for many districts, but it's just not true for you. So for you, the students you bring in at 4KK is really the story of your future. For the net migration, I used a low, which was the average of the past 3 years, and I just put those numbers here to remind us what they were. And then the high is the average of the past 2 years. Okay. Now, point I've made, I think 5 times already, is that your enrollment is driven by the size of 4K kindergarten, that there are no significant net inflows after kindergarten. Now, what could make these projections too high? Well, the 4K kindergarten would be too high. That is that the pool is too large, or your capture rate decreases. Or another factor might be smaller percentage of non-residents enroll. What could make them too low? Well, the pool being too small. I don't think that's the case, but it's a possibility. Or your capture rate increases. More non-residents choose to attend in person. Or you have a very rapid increase in single-family detached houses. Massive development. So now we pose the question here, what if 4K became full day? Because it clearly looks in the numbers that there are children resident in the district who do not attend the district's 4K, but they enroll in kindergarten, because we just can't have that many kids moving in at that age and not affecting any other ages. It's just not logical. So we saw that it has this largest. And if 4K were full K, then the net in-migration between 4K and K would decrease. Okay, so let's take a look here at these numbers. Here's the in-person net migration of that K to 4K to K. And you can see 21, 15, 8, 13, 2. This is the pandemic. 24, 12, 13, 23, 13. Yeah, look, it's a couple of high years, a little bit low, maybe around 10, 12 students a year. And then the next set is the percentage. So this past year, it was 16.3% net inflow. The year with the 23 students, it was 31%. See, I'd get these percentages. So we see the importance of this flow. And this flow would obviously disappear if 4K were full day. So let's take a look now. I ran some projections here with these assumptions that the past kindergarten enrollment is what 4K enrollment would have been if 4K were full day. Then based on the past 3 years average, the capture rate would be 38.52% of the pool. And then I just remind us what those capture rates were when with the half-day 4K. And then at kindergarten, the net migration or survival rate for the 4K to K would be reduced. And I took the average of the past 3 years of the K to grade 1, assuming that would be similar, and that's 0.997. And then I looked at it, and it made a difference of 1 student if it had been 1.000, because the numbers are so small. So we're basically not taking anybody out. We're just moving that cohort from K from 4K to K as it would have occurred from K to 1. All right, now I think we have the numbers next, right? In 10 years, with the adjusted migration assumption, full day 4K results in total in-person enrollment like half 4K with current 4K to K migration. So with the lowest kindergarten assumption, it's 1,370 versus 1,359, or 11 students higher. With the high migration assumption, it's 14 students lower. So it's in that, now I have a table with numbers. Okay. So you can see here that the 2 yellows are the 2 corresponding, and then the 2 greens. I think it also provides us a little insight. As I've mentioned, I think that 1,508 is probably not achievable, but 4,452, something like that. In other words, I really think you probably should anticipate that you'll have a 100-student decline in 10 years, all things being equal. If fertility doesn't plummet any farther. And then, thank you. And any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer.
I do have a couple questions. Did you take into account, did you inspect with either Village of Hammond or Village of Roberts or Warren Township, the Township of Hammond, on the developments that's currently happening?
No, I didn't, but I have to tell you, you
Hundreds
have
of
to have
townhomes.
300-400 houses, single family. Takes an enormous number.
Yep, well, that's what's happening in Roberts.
Yeah, well, that.
So this is a skew then, because when they're done within a year or two, these numbers wouldn't be accurate, not knowing who's moving in from the Twin Cities. I don't think I'm wrong.
Yeah, we don't. First of all, they need to be single family detached, not townhomes, not apartments.
So twin homes don't count for the amount of
No.
kids you may have in there.
Yeah.
So the numbers are not accurate.
Townhomes, twin homes don't yield as many kids as single family detached.
Yeah, she did not include a housing study in this.
Yeah. Housing study probably should have been included for this report, I would say. I mean, as a mail carrier, you need to deliver mail to 500 more houses in the next year or two.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're going to get very many kids.
Okay.
That's the thing. I guess I'd be happy to look at it, but my experience has been, and I've done a lot of them now, is it's very, very difficult to get enough housing to overcome this force of lower fertility and natural decrease.
Hey Hazel, this is Lance. I have one for you too. And this is, I guess, maybe more experience based, but just given where we're located on kind of the fringes of a major metropolitan area, do you see that, having looked back at any of your projections or data, as having an influence on the population versus like a Park Falls, Wisconsin, that's kind of in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, no, you benefit from being in St. Croix County, but the fact of the matter is, population is not growing very fast in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, and then the question is, the question is whether the population moves from Minnesota to Wisconsin, or whether it's movement from within Wisconsin as people look for jobs in the Twin Cities. You know, that it's coming from east of you,
Sure.
moving in. And I'm not very bullish. I live in Minnesota. I'm a native of Wisconsin. I'm not very bullish right now about Minnesota's population.
Thank you.
Minnesota's population growth for the past 25 years has been really totally driven by foreign immigration. So,
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, yeah, your situation is better than Park Falls.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thanks, Hazel.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I can tell you these are more favorable results than I've seen in most of the districts I've projected in 2025-26.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, if you have any other questions, let the superintendent know and I'd be happy to answer them.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Next we have a presentation by Barry Forbes. How you doing, sir?
Well, 1 second, Tim's got you muted.
Oh, he's got some.
Yeah, no, I had myself muted and I've spent the last hour trying to, or half an hour trying to change the name not available, but I figured that out. But I can say that I've been to Park Falls many times. And this is very
I have a good friend from there, so once I just know the Schwamigan Forest is desolate.
Okay, I am here tonight to provide some board professional development. The topic Tim and I landed on was conflict of interest. I can answer some questions about public records law. I thought they may come up, so I asked him to include that in the notice. But the PowerPoint that I have is all on conflict of interest. And I'm imagining you do not want to hear me talk about it for 60 minutes, which I easily can go beyond. So I will try to hit the highlights. Tim, is it possible for me to share my screen? I see a share screen button.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna
It's like
try.
everything's-
Microsoft Edge tab. Come on. I'm not seeing my PowerPoint come up.
You have it opened on your browser?
Yeah. Yeah, I have, I have the PowerPoint open in Microsoft PowerPoint. And it's on my other screen. And choose what to share with meet.google.com. And I am not seeing.
Barry, I could just pull it up on my screen.
Okay, why don't you put it up on your screen and I'll tell you when to move the slides. That'll probably work better.
Okay.
And we're loading. And there we go. There we go. Okay, yeah, why don't, well, we had it for a,
Yeah, there we go.
there we go. Okay, I'm Barry Forbes. I'm staff counsel for Wisconsin Association of School Boards. I've worked with your district for a number of years, and I have talked many times about conflict of interest. Why don't you go to the next slide? And as far as the overview goes, I think the most interesting and important parts of this are the criminal liability and code of ethics for local government officials. I'll spend more time on those. The other topics I can talk about a little if you're interested, but I think criminal liability and code of ethics are the most important ones. So next slide. And this is common law conflict of interest. And basically, as local government officials, you're serving the public interest, and your obligation is that, like a fiduciary, like a lawyer or a financial advisor, where your obligation is to make decisions that are in the interest of the public you serve, which means that you should not be considering your personal interest in making decisions as school board members. Next slide, please. There aren't a lot of court cases on the common law conflict of interest. The Heffron case is probably one of the most recent ones. It involved a Green Bay city alderman who worked for a contractor who bid on and received a contract to demolish and reconstruct a bridge in the city of Green Bay. And that potentially was a common law conflict of interest. The court said that no person can faithfully serve two masters at the same time, representing diverse or inconsistent interests. In that case, they decided that there wasn't a conflict, but go to the next slide. When there is a common law conflict of interest, and this is also true when we talk about the criminal conflicts of interest and the code of ethics for local government officials, one of the consequences can be the invalidation of a vote and the voiding of whatever agreement was entered into by that vote that was affected by the conflict of interest. So that's all I'll say about common law. We're on to the criminal conflict of interest. The most interesting statute there is 946.13. Chapter 946 is a chapter of the criminal code that basically covers crimes against government or involving government. And 946.13 prohibits local government officials and public employees from having a private interest in public contracts. So if you benefit as a school board member or an employee privately in a contract that the school district enters into, there is potentially a criminal conflict of interest, although there are lots of exceptions, which we'll get to. The statute is a strict liability statute, and that means that to prove that there was a crime, the state does not have to show that you intended to violate the law. There's no intent element. It is a Class I felony, and the penalty for violating 946.13, maximum penalty can be a fine of up to $10,000 or imprisonment up to 3 years. And next slide. There are two types of violation of 946.13. A board member can violate the statute in their public capacity as a board member or in their private capacity as a party entering into a contract with a school district. And we'll talk about public capacity first. And if someone has a private interest, let's take that Hefferon case. You're an employee of a contractor and you're building a bridge for the city of Green Bay. If you're also on the city council and you vote in favor of entering into the contract that would benefit your employer, that potentially is a violation of 946.13(1)(b). That would be the public capacity. But it's possible to avoid that by the city council member or school board member choosing to not vote, not discuss, not get involved in the making of that decision, to abstain from participating in that decision. In that case, there would not be a violation of 946.13(1)(b), the public capacity element. Go to the next slide. The private capacity element basically is a person who has authority to act on behalf of government, a school board member, a city council member, who can vote to enter into a contract. If they act in their private capacity to enter into the contract and have authority to act in their public capacity, to be a school board member, to vote to accept the contract, that can be a violation of 946.13. And you take that Hefferon example where the city council member is an employee of the contractor. He said, I'm going to abstain in my capacity as a city council member from any participation in the decision as to who you hire to build that bridge. And instead, I'm going to act as my employer's agent and negotiate with you over the contract to build that bridge. That also would be a violation of 946.13(1)(a). And the elements of that are you acted in your private capacity to negotiate or enter into the contract, and you had authority in your public capacity, whether you exercised it or not doesn't matter, but you had authority to act in your public capacity to approve that contract. Next slide. There are a number of significant exceptions. The most important exception is contracts that involve receipts and disbursements in the aggregate not exceeding $15,000 in a single year. So, and that $15,000 does not reference the benefit that a local government official might receive. It is the size of the contract. So if you own a car dealership and sell a van to the school district for $40,000, that's that $40,000 figure that's significant, not the profit or the amount that the board member might receive in a commission. So that's one exception. Contracts for public deposits, The statute doesn't apply if you own stock in a company unless you own a very significant amount, 2% or more of all the stock in that company. There are other exceptions. Next slide. One place you run into this is in the case of a school board member thinking about applying for a job with school district. And an application for a job is negotiating to enter into an agreement with the school district. So if a school board member wanted to apply for a job, the proper way to do it to avoid a problem with 946.13 would be to resign from the school board prior to putting in your application for the position with the school district. And that's the one court case that we know of, the Venema decision. It involved a township board member applying for employment with the township, and that was a violation of the statute. I can tell you I have worked at the Wisconsin Association of School Boards since 1983. To my knowledge, no school board member has ever violated this statute. Next slide. I'm not going to spend any particular time on the misconduct in office statute. It does not come up very often. Probably the most common situation it gets talked about is if a board member intentionally leaks information from a closed session. And some have suggested that would violate 946.12. And I think it's possible, but to my knowledge, no school board member or other local government official has ever been charged for under 946.12 for that purpose. So that's criminal conflicts of interest. If people have questions and you want me to stop, Tim, why don't you let me know? Otherwise, I'll just keep going. I can't see people raise their hands or anything. So
Questions for Barry? No, everybody's saying proceed.
Okay. Go to the next slide. We're on to the code of ethics for local government officials, employees, and candidates. That's 19.59 of the statutes. And that also prohibits certain conflicts of interest by local public officials. It is not that old of a statute. It was adopted in the late 1980s, I think in part because the criminal conflict of interest statute, by its nature and by the fact that it's a criminal statute, basically did not cover a lot of situations where there should be some law addressing the conflict of interest, but the criminal penalties involved are perhaps too harsh. So we have 19.59, and it prohibits certain conflicts of interest by local public officials, and local public officials includes all school board members and high-level administration. That would be any central office administrators like your district administrator or business manager. It would also include building principals, and it potentially could include some other employees, but that is pretty much the scope. And one difference between the Code of Ethics and the criminal statute is the Code of Ethics only regulates board member conduct in their public capacity. And there's no private capacity element to it. So if you were talking about that alderman negotiating a contract in Green Bay on behalf of his employer, the building contractor. If the contract was less than $15,000, it would not be a violation of the criminal statute, and the code of ethics would not apply. But if that alderman voted on accepting his employer's bid for building the bridge, the code of ethics might apply. It only applies in the public capacity. So next slide. There are penalties in the form of forfeitures and potential criminal penalties. I have not seen any of these penalties imposed. Probably more significant would be if there is a violation of 1959 and a contract is involved, that contract could be voided. And although off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of any examples of that also. Go on to the next slide. There are 4 types of prohibited conflicts under 19.59. You may not use your position to obtain anything of substantial value for yourself or for a family member or organization you're associated with. No one may give you, and you may not accept as school board members anything of value if it could be reasonably expected to influence your vote or judgment. You may not act or offer to act or refrain from acting in exchange for a campaign contribution. And no board member may take official action or use their office in a manner that provides substantial financial benefit to himself or herself, a family member, or an organization with which they're associated. So go to the next slide and we'll start to unpack some of those terms. First, the 1A subsection, use of position for financial gain. No local public official may use their public position to obtain anything of substantial value for himself or herself or immediate family or an organization they're associated with that has a bunch of terms that need some additional definition. And go to the next slide. The term anything of value means pretty much, certainly any money, any property, favors, service, payments, forbearance, loan, promises in the future, anything of value can be fairly simple, as we'll see in the upcoming slides. Next slide. Substantial value, and if I was controlling the slides, I would jump back 2 or 3 slides and point out 1A uses the term anything of substantial value. Go back 1 more slide. You see 1A uses the term anything of substantial value. 1B uses anything of value. Now go back to the slide we were on. No, the substantial value slide, that one. The phrase anything of substantial value is not very valuable. It's anything more than nominal, token, or inconsequential value. We talk about this a lot before the WASB convention because we know that school boards are meeting with contractors and other vendors that want to do business with the school district. And those contractors or vendors offering to buy meals or drinks, those meals or drinks would be something of substantial value according to the Government Accountability Board, which was a predecessor board to the Ethics Commission, who now has authority to regulate and make decisions under 19.59. And the Government Accountability Board, way back in 1982, said a vendor buying a bottle of beer for a local government official would be something of substantial value. Next slide. Immediate family is pretty limited, is limited to an individual spouse or another family member who basically you are supporting or that person is supporting you. So the definition of immediate family, a way to think about it is, immediate family is your spouse and anyone you might claim as a deduction on your or a dependent on your income tax, or they might claim you as a dependent on their income tax. Immediate family is limited to that group. And we run into questions like this when a board member is faced with the situation that their adult child is applying for a job with the school district. And that comes up from time to time. And that isn't a violation of 19.59 in most instances, because your adult children are financially independent of you. And you're not claiming them as dependents on your income tax. So you don't meet that definition. Next slide. Associated, and this is related to how connected to a business do you need to be for the business benefiting from a government contract, say, to be reflected back on you. And the definition in the statute limits it to an individual or a member of the immediate family being a director, officer, trustee, or someone who owns more than 10% of the business. So we run into, there are a few school board members in Wisconsin who work for private contractors who provide bus service to the school district. And in those instances, the board member, being a bus driver, would not meet this definition of being associated with the company that provides the bus services. You have to basically be on the board of directors or an executive director or a significant owner of the business. Okay, next slide. Okay, this gets to the second code of ethics potential violation. No person may offer or give a local public official, and no local public official may solicit or accept anything of value if it could be reasonably expected to influence their judgment. And the one thing that strikes me about this is it does not use the word substantial. So basically, anything at all could, that is valuable. If somebody is offering you something in exchange for your acting in your capacity as a board member, and it has any value, it potentially could violate 1B. And although, you're not prohibited from engaging in outside employment, but that isn't connected back to your role as a school board member. Well, if it was potentially, or it could be a violation. Political contributions is probably the most obvious one that you can't offer to do anything or refrain from doing anything in exchange for a campaign contribution. And in the earlier slide that addressed penalties, the biggest potential penalty was in intentional violation of this subsection. And we don't see much concern about this, in large part because most school board members don't receive political contributions. It's, you run for office without spending much in the way of campaign money. Next slide. Okay, sub C. No, we don't. Let's go on to the next slide. We don't need to get into that level of detail. It's possible to get advisory opinions from either the Wisconsin Ethics Board, or if a board member wanted an advisory opinion, you can get that from the government legal counsel, which I suppose potentially could be me, or it could be one of the other attorneys that works with the school district. I've done a couple of those over the years. It does not come up very often. Next slide. Okay, that's on more detail on advisory, and that's the Wisconsin Ethics Commission giving opinions. I can tell you, if you ask for one, they will be slow. That I don't imagine that the way the Ethics Commission is set up right now, it does not very quickly. So okay, and we can skip over that stuff. That was just talking about some WSB code of ethics issues. Okay, well, we're a half hour in. Tim, do you want me to talk about some of these other issues, or have I used up my time?
I think, does the board want any of those other parts that he showed in his overview? Or, no, I think it's time maybe for potential questions.
Okay.
Back to the just the first, he had a whole bunch of overview. It had all the just see what was at the end. I was more interested in the first couple, so.
Okay. Any questions for Barry? Just FYI, Barry is offered to do this professional development gratis. So thank you, Barry, for that. Appreciate that very much.
Oh, and I appreciate working with your district, and It's been a great relationship. I'm going to retire one of these days, and you guys will be one of my last clients. So there you go. We will talk again sometime, and I will sign off.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Barry.
Barry.
Oh, we have a question. Oh,
I'm just curious, what is bringing this up to have a full discussion in regards to what's going on with the board? Is it a reason Erica chose to leave? Or is there anything we should be concerned about? Because this seems to kind of out of the blue, having the attorney come speak about board member stuff. And then also, is coaching involved in regards to the employment?
Appointment of what? I'm sorry.
is coaching involved regarding?
Regarding the rules and regulations, they said teaching, is coaching involved in that also? I just want to make sure we are all clear on the same page.
We normally do stuff like this in our quarterly board development meetings. And I think we've had quite a few requests to do, I guess, more in open settings like this that are recorded. So
that's just us for learning what we can do and what we can't do.
We've been working with Lee Pritzel primarily with board development quarterly, and the last few meetings have been canceled because of conflicts. Barry, in working with him, said, "Hey, I've got a great presentation on this, or that, and what would you be interested in?" And said he'd be willing to do this for free. So yeah, it's done in open session this time. I mean, we normally have board development posted separately quarterly, but because we haven't done that since I think August, this is why now.
So nothing with Erica.
Nothing to read into. It's this board development.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
it's
we've
good.
had
It's a good
concerns
question.
about things for the last year, so I didn't know what was going to be presented. And so I guess regards to it being board member stuff kind of caught me off guard. So I was
Yeah.
kind of curious.
And then,
I appreciate the openness.
then-
Transparency is important.
like he said, begin with too, he put records law or open records, in case there are any questions, because, there have been a lot of them lately, and we work with Barry primarily with that. So he said, I'll just put that on there in case the board members have any questions about it, but they don't.
Okay, and anything with the coaching position stuff, does that count towards teaching? Or is that a different entity, or is it you don't make enough to that 15,000? I was just trying to understand all the numbers. With the laws about.
Enter into a contract?
Right, he said something in regards to if you're employed and being a
Correct.
board member.
Yeah, there are no board members that are,
Coaching position.
have a contract as coach. Board members do have volunteered in the past and currently, but no contracts.
Tim, if I could jump in, that is one of the slides we did not get to, and I'm not suggesting you throw the PowerPoint back up, but there is a statute 120.20 that directly addresses school board members volunteering to be coaches in athletic activities. It allows it. And it describes some circumstances like board
Nobody
members.
else wants to do it.
Yeah. No, that board members may be coaches. They are not paid. There are criminal background checks. That struck me kind of as interesting. You don't need a criminal background check to be a board member. But then if you volunteer to be the assistant baseball coach, you need a background check for that. But that's what the statute provides.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Barry.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else for me, I'm going to sign off.
All right, have a good night.
thank you. I think we're gonna attach that too.
Yeah, we can attach that to the minutes, the presentation.
Okay, next up, Bid and Talented.
Hello, everyone. This will be a pretty brief, just informational session on the identification process update. So per policy 342.3, any significant changes to our gifted and talented program have to be presented and approved by Tim. So we've gone through this yesterday, actually, just to make sure that everything was in here. So you can go ahead. For our current GT staff, these are any teachers at the elementary or middle school level that are providing specific GT, either instruction to students or supports for teachers. I'm the GT coordinator for the district, but Tina Fern-Dunzer, Carrie Demond, Christy Schmidt provide instruction at the middle school, and Dan Root is providing some instruction at the elementary school. So these folks, specifically Tina, Christy, and Dan, were able to attend our planning meetings. Carrie has class during that time, but she was consulted. So they were a part of the decisions that we're going to, I guess, inform you on today. So what areas do we currently identify students as gifted and or talented? So academic in grades 4 through 8, and that would be in English language arts and or mathematics, visual or performing arts, creativity, and leadership. And those are in grades 5 through 8. And that was something that was added last year. So there are actually a couple other areas which we do not offer at this time because the criteria to get in, the staffing to service, all of those things make it a little bit more difficult. You can see at the bottom, parent or teacher recommendation in grades K through 3. That, in my time here in the past 2.5 years, I think I've had 2 parents contact me at those grade levels or by teachers, and it has not come to fruition based on the data that we have about those students. But parents are always welcome to ask, and we can go through the data that way. At the high school level, any student who's GT is allowed to take courses at varying levels, honors, AP, CAP courses, all of those things, depending on their interests. The current process for identification up to next week, for academics, I go through and I mine the data after universal screeners. So those Ames web tests and FastBridge tests that your children, if you have them right now, would do 3 times a year. Currently, they need 2 scores above the 95th percentile on that universal screener. And the big piece in that is they're not time bound. So once they start taking those assessments in 2nd grade, there could be one in 2nd grade, and then there might not be one till 5th grade. And currently, they would qualify as GT. They would also need, in addition to that, 1 score above 95th percentile, not just an advanced scoring, but a 95th percentile or above on the state required forward exam. That doesn't start until 3rd grade, and we get those scores at the end of 3rd grade. All remaining areas that are not academic, which we started last year in February, are based on a teacher recommendation form. We had proposed doing it at the beginning and the middle of the year, and then staff members were presented with the attributes and the criteria and kind of those characteristics that students would possess or showcase in those other areas. And then it was really a recommendation and then a team conversation about those students. And this was really a way to get more diverse students that maybe weren't great test takers, but really showed a strength in leadership and gathering students and collaborating to make decisions. Or we had actually a coach who saw a student who showed super strong leadership capabilities on the basketball team. And so they were nominated. And then again, it's not just one person, it's a team talking about all of those things. And are you seeing this in social studies? Are you seeing this in PE? Are you seeing it out in the community? So it really became a conversation. And so we're taking it a little bit further. So next slide, please. So this is our total current number of students, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, segregated by content area. And again, it may be duplicative as we do have some students who are in maybe visual arts and also math or ELA and math. That last category, GI, is general intelligence. So just a little bit of information on that. If a student scores at the 95th percentile or above 3 times within 2 years in math and ELA, I give them an online test called the COGAT. And it's 3 tests that basically your general intelligence IQ tests. If they score a 95th percentile or above on that as a whole, they would get the label of general intelligence. The kids that have done this really think it's just an honor to be asked. We kind of pump them up and, whether they get a 95 or they get a 92, the lowest that I've done, I think I've done 6 or 7. The lowest has been an 89. The highest has been a 99.
They just think it's pretty cool to even get that. So we always talk about, it's okay if you don't make it. This is an honor just to get to take that. Currently, our fourth grade GD students, we have 3, it's 2.3% of the fourth grade population. 5th through 8th grade students identified are 12.9% of the 5th through 8th grade population. The reason I have that in there is because of the next bullet. The average national percentage of students in public schools is 6%. The National Association of Gifted and Talented, along with the Wisconsin Association of Gifted and Talented, recommend between 2 to 5 on the lower end, 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 on the high end. Now, just like with anything, you can go Google and you'll find places that say, well, we take everybody, or we take 15%. When you do things like that, your quality programming goes down significantly because of staffing. You'll notice that the teachers that I have on there, none of them are GT teacher alone. They all have other duties. And so our conversation started about a year ago in how do we create more specific time-bound cutoff that really truly identifies more accurately and consistently our students who are truly gifted or talented and provide better programming for them. So next slide. Which I just said. There we go. We can go to the next one. So the new process for identification for academics, you can see highlighted in yellow, and this will be updated on our website either Friday or Monday in our handbook. For academics now, instead of 2 scores above the 95th percentile on the universal, it's 3 scores above the 95th percentile on the universal, and those must be within a 2-year time span. So every time they take it, that time span extends. So really they have 6 opportunities to show 50% of the time they're scoring at that high level, which gives us, again, a much more consistent, accurate identification of students. And then 1 score that remains the same on the forward because they only take that one time a year. Just to give you an idea, on the couple slides back, I showed you the students who have actually qualified. One of the other data pieces that I keep track of is those students that are on watch. So those students that have 1 score above 95th, 2 scores above 95th, and then the forward score. And we currently have 82 students on watch. So as you can see, if all of them were to get in, that is not an accurate representation of truly gifted and talented. It means we have super smart kids, but not necessarily gifted and talented. So all of the other remaining areas, that's going to slightly change too. And this was based on, again, the recommendations from the National and Wisconsin Associations of Gifted and Talented, continuing with the teacher recommendation form. But instead of doing it at the beginning of the year when our students might not know their students that they're getting new for that year, we're waiting till the middle of the year. So this will actually take place in the next couple of weeks. And students that are recommended, instead of just having a conversation about them at that time, we're going to create a digital portfolio for all of the teachers that know that student to add things to it and a collecting evidence protocol so that when we meet in May, we would be able to go through all of those things and truly get a good picture and almost like a portfolio of what that student's strengths are for leadership, for creativity, for visual and performing arts, because they're not all the same. One student could be gifted in leadership, doesn't mean that they're the same as the other person, right? So this gives the teachers the following year a better idea of extensions, ideas, projects, performance-based learning that would be specific to that student. So, and then their program would begin the following fall. So it does put a pause to when students would be in, but we truly feel like it's what's actually best for kids so that they can get the program that's best for them. Our programming philosophy switched this year because of staffing, but again, partly because of it's best practice and what those 2 associations are pushing for. It used to be pull out GT sessions. You're in math, GT, you come to me for 30 minutes twice a week or once a week or whatever your schedule allows for. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's separate. And GT identification and GT teaching and extensions really are meant to be part of the classroom, least restrictive. And so you'll see that emphasis on teacher coaching. And so that's what specifically Tina Ferdenzer and Christy Schmidt, for the most part, have been working with teachers on pushing in and being in that classroom with students. And the cool part is that other students can see what these kids are doing and hearing, and so they can kind of take part in those things as well. So think that's the last one. Any questions?
The, like the portfolio development for some of those other ones, do those carry kind of with the kids on watch through second, third, up through seventh, eighth grade and kind of monitor progress?
Yeah, so if they're nominated in the next couple of weeks and we get to the end of the year, maybe and that candidate maybe doesn't qualify, yes, that would go on to the next year because they were obviously identified for a reason. So continuing to watch them. We go through quite in detail about what the attributes are of those students. And so we really, encourage people, when we started this, people thought, well, I have to have somebody, I have to put somebody on the form. You don't, it's okay, right? It's okay not to nominate somebody. So in most chances, if they're nominated and a teacher or a group of teachers truly believes and can show evidence, the likelihood of them being identified and being in the program is pretty high because it's only going to help them. So, yeah.
So math is obviously easy tracked. Like, what do you do with leadership? How do you further that?
As far as identification or?
Well, you identify it, but then what do you do after you identify it?
Yeah, so it could be leadership positions in their classroom. It could be project manager type things. It could be a teacher knowing that this student, I'm trying to think of somebody that we had at the middle school that did their presentation for wanting the day after Halloween off, right? Like that's something that this student went outside the box, came up with a presentation, presented it to the principal, right? Those are things that kids might have those ideas, but to actually make it come to fruition. So really it's more of a teacher being aware that this student has this intrinsic drive and this passion to go beyond what your rubric says, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Treasurer. Financial reports.
As of December 31st, 2025, balance in our Citizen State Bank checking account was $1,385,974.20. Money market balance was $12,295.74. Fund 46 is at 6191. Suicide prevention, $5,482.32. Debt service is $935.34. Referendum balance is $61,733.22. For a total of $1,466,482.73.
Before we motion to approve, don't we have to spend that 61,000 in the referendum balance
Yes, for that.
or the referendum?
Right.
And
Yes.
when does that have to be
I
spent?
believe
by?
it's by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay,
And it's already earmarked for some like CTE
got it.
auto program. Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, thank you. All right, consent agenda items. So, minutes, bills, and then, the curricular modification requests. We did have 58 part-time, 6 full-time for a total of 64. Get a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve consent.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Administrative reports, student enrollment update.
Number of students in seats as of the count this month is 1,553. And you can see we started the year at 1,554 and it's fluctuated very little, 51, 52, 54. So to Hazel's point, our net in migration and our net migration is very minimal, pretty steady this year. Another number to point out is our free introduced lunch rate at 21.94. State average again is 37.5. And again, you can see class sizes and groups. One thing I wanted to point out, again, our open enrollment is outstanding. In January, we have 308 difference in. That's largely attributed to our 310 students, obviously, in our virtual charter program. I want to point out we're at an all-time high with that. Kudos to Steph and her staff. 310 as opposed or compared to this time last year of 277. And again, those are non-resident students enrolled in our virtual charter school. You add in the 110 here of our resident students, which you just saw 64 of them just approved this month at semester time. 110 are taking full part-time courses to our virtual school as well. Again, they're resident students. 33 resident students are enrolled in our charter school. So that's a total of 453 students. Our virtual charter school is servicing. Actually, at the time of this count, that was 2 weeks ago. We probably had about 20 to 30 more just the last 2 weeks. It's that time of year, and continues to trend in a very positive direction. Questions on that?
That's good. Well,
I'm going to talk about 4K full day. Hazel kind of gave me a softball there, so. Ms. Grayson. All right, so first, I just want to thank the board and our community really for supporting the 4K program. In the 9 years I've been in this position of the 4K director, it's really evolved. When I came, our district, our 4K sites were off-site and we didn't employ the employees. We just sent our kids to those spots at different daycares. So a couple years after that, they became our employees, which was great. And then we moved to just Trinity and the elementary. And then obviously the referendum, thank you to our community, has been such a positive impact. So I just thought I needed to start with thanking the board for supporting that and our community. We've already have seen a very positive impact with our kids. And we think this is an opportunity now to even better that. So just going through a couple of the impacts that we would see or have seen. So a daily impact going to full day 4K is obviously the time in the day. Our staff are with kids two sessions a day at 3.5 hours. Having a little bit more time, we can continue with the purposeful play. We think at an early learning, a lot of our learning happens through play. The teachers will have more time for intentional deeper learning. We can expose our kids to specials. Right now, they don't attend art or music or find other things like that. So that's something we can do, and just the rest and refuel. And what I mean by that is not as much transitions in a 4-year-old's day from school to daycare to home. The first thing is the social and emotional impact. Having them all day, we'll be able to provide more consistent routines. So what they would see in kindergarten the full day, helping build their stamina and really that emotional regulation. So what that means is being able to transition to one thing to another, going outside and playing, coming back into learning. That takes a lot for little kids. Sometimes adults it takes a lot for. So having them all day will help build that. Their social skills, having them all day will allow more for that collaborative play with their peers, learning to negotiate, share, having empathy for each other, losing, and just the conflict resolution. We see in a lot of kids as they get older, they don't know how to solve their own problems, but we think if we can have them longer and help foster that, that will help with them. And then just building relationships and connections with kids, having them for a full day, the teachers can spend more time with each kid to meet their needs. The academic impact, obviously our teachers are amazing already and they're doing great things now. But with 3.5 hours versus a full day, they can do even more. That deeper learning, deeper understanding of skills, they can meet more with them. And the biggest thing is this language acquisition, increased talk time. And really what that means is when kids understand they can communicate better with each other, and in turn helps them learn more effectively across the grades. So to promote that growth, which will help them throughout all their academics. Another piece is supporting our families. Consistent learning environment is really, we will have them all day, right? We can control what we control at school and provide that for them, which in turn will be less transition. So some of our kids, right, are at 6 o'clock going to a daycare, then at 7:30 they're getting on a bus coming to the elementary learning, get back on a bus, go back to daycare for several hours, go back home. That's just a lot for little kids. So that this would hopefully take that out. A potential cost for childcare for families, obviously the full day versus half day, and we've worked with Carrie for Kids Care, and she would be able to get a license for wraparound care. So that would also take another transition away for kids. And then just being more integrated in the school community. And what I mean by that is, as a 4K parent, if that's the oldest child, right, if they're there for 3.5 hours a day, you're just naturally not as integrated, but being there full day, they just feel more part of the school. So really the impact on us as a district, why now is a question that we've gotten. We've talked to all of our stakeholders, talked to our 4K teachers, our kindergarten teachers, transportation, special education. We've reached out to districts. There's none around us that are full day right now, but some of the other ones up north, and just things like that. And we're in a spot, I mean, obviously Hazel was talking about it and you saw the numbers Tim just put up, we have lower numbers, declining enrollment. So our numbers in K and 1 are lower, so we could restructure right now, right? We could move a teacher to a 4K, have 5 sections each, so we're not having to hire a teacher and they're not having to find new space. So that's kind of why now. We've always thought it's been a good thing. Tim and our team has talked about full day 4K for a couple of years and just didn't have the money and space for it then. So that's kind of why we think now. We are able to reduce our bus routes during the midday, so that would be somewhat of a cost savings to our district. Obviously, the no additional teachers or space. And then, for us, potential to retain students. A lot of times in 4K, we lose anywhere between 10 to 20 students out that live in our district due to daycare and wraparound care. So hopefully to retain those and attract new students. There's a that offers this right now. So we hope that would be also an opportunity for us. So in a nutshell, obviously we think very strongly and the reason for it is we feel it's best for kids and what we could provide to them and hopefully help our district as well. Any questions?
Do they get mats to sleep on? Because we had mats in kindergarten.
That was in
half a day.
kindergarten, and that was half day. Very much changed.
Just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, they will have, that will be part of their day. Obviously, for a 4-year-old, we're not going to have them all day, not have a rest of it. Yes, they probably will be mats.
Just checking.
Great question. Are you going to join them?
No, no, you won't get me out.
Has there been any studies done with these kids, like that are going to full-time 4K? I mean, school used to be 12 and a half years. Now we're going to 14 full years. Seems like a lot.
I can't speak to any studies I've seen or heard of, but a lot of what a 4K day would be, and I get what you're saying, but like a lot of our 4K is through play, right? It's not like when we went to school, you sat in a row, you sat and listened, right? Like, and it's very just developmentally appropriate.
I didn't sit and listen, but the
Wow.
good kids did.
Sorry for us to sit and listen right now, I'm sure. So I can't say I've seen or heard them, but.
You have to make that introduction to kindergarten a lot easier.
And I have to
I get
speak to
that.
that.
Yeah.
Even since we've had the kids in our building, we've seen such a difference in just having them in the building and knowing more people as they enter kindergarten, right? Kindergarten, if they've never been to school or our school, those first couple of weeks are really hard for those kindergarten kids. Now, like we very rarely, and Shelly and I even said it this year, it was crazy how many less anxious kids and even parents brought their kindergartners. They just walked in because they've been there, they know the people. So that's a benefit also that we've had having them at the building and prepared. Okay. So hopefully, that would be our recommendation to go to 4K starting next school year. You guys prove it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, consideration of approval for the full day.
Right. I'd rather not vote on this just quite yet after a 7-minute presentation. I'd also like to get Jeff's input with him being 32 years on the school board. I'd rather, I know is probably not great timing.
I agree with you, Derek.
I would like to I'd like to poll some of the people that I care about their opinion, and I'd like to hear from them and see what their thoughts are. It wouldn't have worked great for, you know, a lot of my kids, a little more anxious, a little more rambunctious.
So, you know, I can't speak for Jeff, but I know he's talked about he understands the importance of early childhood education. YMCA and lots of people he knows have talked about that. They talked about the transition. Some of the kids, like 70-ish, right, are in 4K and come to kindergarten, but another 20 or 30 aren't, and they see the difference there. I understand you wanting to wait. The only thing I say is if we were to proceed with this, we start 4K registration in February.
Right.
So just know that a delay would significantly delay that. And I could say the other thing is it's not required, right? If some parents, it doesn't work for them, they don't want it, they still don't have to.
You still have the option to enroll in it.
Correct.
So the half-a-day option is still available.
It is. We're not necessarily going to broadcast that, but if a parent comes and says this doesn't work for my kid, we're going to work with them. And we've learned that from other districts. Yeah, it's not required. And a half-day option would be an option.
I don't see very many negatives out of it. I mean, is 4K still entirely voluntary, like, period?
Correct. There's not compulsory
It's not
attendance.
mandatory.
And no matter what, our funding is the same, whether it's half day or full day, it's still 0.6. That's the current legislation. So it doesn't affect funding in that regard. Yeah, we might get more students in.
So if you elected to go half a day, then do you have to figure out transportation midday?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, and which half and programming.
which
And
makes
we of course
sense.
think the whole day is important,
Mhm.
but we'd have to pick which, it's gonna have to be probably, again, a lot of plans yet, but morning, right, where most of the
Right.
academics take place.
Yep.
And more of the specials and lunch and nap time or something in the afternoon. Otherwise, another option, is to have a special board meeting. Like, we can schedule another board meeting just basically for this, next week or the week after, rather than wait until February 18th.
Can I add one thing? Sorry.
Mhm.
I did send a survey out to, I think it was in November, to our families that open enrolled out, but were district residents, and just asked, like, why did you choose to open enroll out? Mainly was transportation and daycare. And a question in there was, what would really attract you to come back? And a lot of people put full day. Just because of the less transitions, like I was talking about, to daycares and stuff like that and back and forth. So just wanted to add that we did get some feedback from community members.
So
Question?
Yeah.
Are you doing 4 days or 5 days?
5.
Still early 4 days.
Yeah.
I had the same question you did about whether there was still the option. It's one thing to open it up full time. It's another to force it. That's your only
Right.
option.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted halftime or half days, and they have the ability right now to take the bus to their daycare. That's no longer going to be available.
Well, that's the thing. It would have to be then, if figured that's what the family wants in the best interest of their family. But again, It's not necessarily.
Well, that's
for
the
kids,
trick
they're missing
because-
half a day.
Because
of
Lindsay
something.
said, well, it's gonna avoid bus routes during the middle of the day. Well, if some parents want them to go back to daycare, we're still running buses
Yeah,
and employees.
we currently run 3 buses. So, but yeah, let's say it's a half a dozen people, we can do a van. You know,
There
Or one
was gonna
bus.
be- just to say this, there's still gonna be a midday route for early childhood. So we still bring in the early childhood kids, so it doesn't eliminate all of our because we have early childhood, not 4K, but the early childhood kids who do get buses. So there would be a route in there that is still going to exist. So if there's
Yeah.
a few,
Or just provide more options.
No, I get it. I just want to make sure it wasn't totally eliminated if they
Right.
would have to and then have to get to their daycare.
Yeah, good question.
Any more questions?
Yeah. I don't,
Still feel strongly about.
I would like a week to gather some details, get some opinions, I guess. I mean, I don't necessarily want to come in for this 11,000th board meeting in the last 2 years, but
it's your decision. You can table, make a motion to approve or not approve, or so if you want more time, schedule another board meeting. And then ideally next week.
I agreed with you if it was the hard line of there was no midday.
that is
option.
that changes, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It seems, I don't know. I just think it's a kind of a big-ish decision to make on a 7-minute presentation that we would, I don't know. Also, it only changed our enrollment by 11 students. I didn't see it. I mean, and that's a projection from 10 years. That could be completely wrong because of where we live and the proximity we are to the cities and the influx and
well, that was just an estimate. I think enrollment would be much larger.
Yeah, and if it is much larger, we would have to cap it based on staffing.
Right.
We would have to. Yeah, because we only have so many classrooms and teachers, but it is the right time, like Lindsay said, because of the declining enrollment.
Right.
Um,
Utilize staff
it's just
better.
shuffling staff. Yeah.
What are we staffed to hold for pre-K?
Right now, we have 3.5 teachers at the 7 sections, 7 half-day sections.
so what's that quantum, the number of students?
Total students in 4K right now is 73. So they have about 10 to 11.
And so with
We
that,
go to 5 sections. And hoping to get some back. 12, 13. Right now, if we have the same numbers.
We talked about limiting class sizes to 18 or less, correct? And then we also have a plan for paraprofessional as well would be needed.
do we already employ the para? Would it be
We
moving
do,
positions?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll put a motion to approve and you guys can decide.
Somebody's got a second motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second it.
So for discussion, since there was a motion and a second, this is not going to cause the public to be in a stir about where is this put our budget at?
Yeah, there's no additional.
I know you've said it, but I just,
Staffing, correct. That is absolutely, yeah, it's not an option, adding staff. We're actually looking at budget reductions. Yeah, it's just the timing's right.
timing's right, but as I ankled, there are like 500 things going on in Roberts, those twin homes and stuff, and Hazel has her projection, but that doesn't mean that families aren't not gonna move in there, even though she said families don't technically move into twin homes, and I can't count that. So you just have to remember that.
Understand that.
So I think she's incorrect there.
But that you're saying if we get an influx of students specifically.
Well, they're
young
building all the
students.
way out to the
Well, then we just
Flying
hire,
J.
right?
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, so if we go down that road, we get an influx like, and it really, it's 4K in this discussion, even K or 1, right, which we have the capacity to with 6 sections in, and you see our class sizes, we're not busting at the seams by any means.
Well, we're not the
But-
only district that's been down. So.
Right. Correct. But then, so following the housing and influx of students, what's the concern, the 4K specifically? And
Well, this just was brought up with Hazel after Hazel's.
Yeah.
I'm still hot
presentation.
about Hazel's
I'm
presentation.
still talking about Hazel's presentation, which was great, Hazel, if you're still listening. It was wonderful, but
Are you nervous that with these people moving in to
well,
all
how
these
can
developments
you
that-
project what type of children they have? Or how
Are
many?
you nervous that they're gonna have an influx, we'll have an influx of
No, I
4K,
don't-
so we don't have to do this to
No.
attract more numbers back?
Well, then we'd have to just add more is all.
Yeah,
That's it.
prepared either
Well,
way.
with her 10-year thing for 2035, it's like, I'm not buying that.
that's quite.
How are the families gonna know that they have the half a day option?
When it's enrollment time, that discussion, then when they ask the question, then that discussion happens with Lindsay and during the enrollment process. Like I said, we weren't gonna necessarily advertise it, you can, because again, talking to other districts, you know, some of those transportation issues and
Yeah.
such, but even the ones that do offer it, I think was very, very.
Yeah, did they
small
say
number
what
of
the
kids that did
percentage is
that.
that?
So I talked to 6 schools and one of them advertised it. It was Rice Lake and they had 3 kids at the beginning of the year, start half day, and by the 3rd week they were full time. So that none of the schools I talked to, they all have that option, right? They call and need to work something out. None of them come half day by parent choice. So that's kind of where it came with, like, we're not gonna advertise it, but obviously there's situations we have worked with families.
And again, a 4-year-old's most likely is gonna be somewhere, right? In school half a day, and home half a day, and school half a day, daycare half a day. Either way, it's a full day.
Yep.
And we believe that we are in the best position to teach those early, literacy and early childhood development things, and it's consistent, and I think that's a good thing. And yeah, it's a long day, so that's why the naps are built in, lunch specials, lots of play. I think it's 21 of the 39 CSIS school districts have some sort of, or have full day 4K. I was really surprised by that number because, like I said, there are none immediately around us that do that.
So any of the other admin back there, do you guys have any input on this? I mean, just as far as your thoughts and your background in education, is there any concerns on your end?
I can tell you that when I was principal in another district, we had full day option 2 days a week and half day option. The only people that chose the half day were parents who stayed home. So they still wanted their child with them. If parents were sending their child to daycare, they would rather have their child in school with certified teachers doing that versus it. And quite honestly, I live 35 minutes from here, and if we go to full day 4K, I'm considering bringing my child here for 4K in 2 years. The kid will turn 5 September 20th, and he will have to sit a whole nother year in daycare versus being with the amazing teachers that we have. So I have to convince my husband, but there is not a doubt in my mind that I would rather have him in full day 4K.
And for me as a special ed teacher, I think it's a great opportunity for us to intervene earlier with those kids. We do get the birth of 3 referrals, but there's many of them that get missed. And so when we get them into the building and we get to know those students, and the longer we have them throughout the day, we can start to identify those ones that maybe need some of that extra help, and that support can intervene faster and go through the referral process. Because not every parent goes through the early childhood county and comes to us as a 3-year-old. So it is that for us to be able to intervene earlier. I think it's great.
Are you guys okay, or I don't wanna?
See the downside.
Well, there was a motion in a second.
Yep,
correct?
yep. So
Any discussion, more discussion? Good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, core agenda items. Just one at a time. Determining number of spaces available for special ed.
Staff and committee recognition.
Did I miss one?
Yeah, just that,
Oh,
just this one.
I'm sorry.
Just reading it.
Yeah, I got it. You got it? Yeah. Sorry.
The recipient of the staff recognition this round is, there's one. Cara Dedez. Congratulations on being selected to serve as State Academic Standards Writing Committee for Music. Thank you for your outstanding contributions to our SCC music program and the impact of your work beyond our school community.
Sir? All right, core agenda items. Now we're on. Determining number of spaces available for special education students for open enrollment purposes.
So you guys, I don't know if you want to put it up, but because it's pretty hard to see the little.
You all
numbers.
have it at your
I
seat,
think
too.
you all have
Yeah.
a copy of my recommendation for the spaces. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but just how we determine and come up with these numbers kind of for you. There's two ways for me to determine if I need to keep a section or a grade level or a building open. We start by looking at the actual physical number of students we have, but then they all go through a matrix based on the needs that they have. So they get a rating of a 1 to 4 based on the services they get through special ed. And so we would either cap it at the number of actual physical students or a matrix number based on need. And at this point, our numbers aren't going down, special ed numbers are going the other way and quite rapidly, and the needs that we're getting are increasing significantly. So my recommendation would be that we close the brick and mortar schools. But as Steph and I talked to, we are pretty much at capacity for our special ed at the virtual programming, and we are turning kids away towards the end here. So we've agreed to kind of increase that by a half-time position, adding another half-time special ed position in our virtual program. That would allow us to open 23 seats of special ed for next year.
What's the funding for each special ed student?
$14,400 and some dollars.
So it's like a $40,000 positive.
We get
after
more for an
package.
open enroll student than we do for a resident. So, yeah.
So 154,000 off of $100,000 overall package, right? Roughly $50,000.
Yeah. So to be able to take some more of those in our virtual program, we've increased the staffing there by a little bit. We don't want to go too fast because it does have impact on other areas of our special ed and our federal funding packets and all of those kinds of things. But this is something we feel confident we can fill those positions, but also kind of remain in within the borders of where we need to be without getting too disproportionality of too many special ed students in a building or somewhere. The only exception to our numbers when you're looking through those brick and mortar numbers would be our program, our high needs program at the middle school. That will not be at full capacity for next year, but with the movement for the following year, we would be over capacity again. So we have to take that into consideration as we have quite a few of those high needs kids. And the same thing happened with us at the high school this year too. The actual needs of the students in that room for the staffing I have right there will be full. So if we get another one, we'd have to hire additional paraprofessional staffing to cover it. So that was the reason for the closure when I don't actually have the physical number of students or the matrix score. It would require us to hire additional staff to take somebody else into the program. So my recommendation would be to close the brick and mortar schools again, which is what we did this year, and then to open 23 seats for virtual.
Oh, so, okay. So you'd have 23 more.
At virtual, those seats would be only in our virtual program. We had 23 open because what these projections do is they take the movement, right? So I have to take my graduates out, the students were going to graduate from the virtual school, and those things, or anybody we have in a referral who may qualify now. Those kinds of things. So that's where we will have, we'll return some of the ones we have, but we would be able to take an additional 23. We would have more than 23 students.
But no more brick and mortar.
Not. Any other questions? Okay.
So we need a motion for that to approve.
So the motions to close brick and mortar would approve the addition of 23
Special ed
special ed
spaces.
with the virtual.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. 23 virtual.
Then 14B is just the same thing, except it's regular education students, and our recommendation is not to limit any classes, any seats at any location. Leave it wide open.
We need to vote on that, huh?
Need
Need a motion to approve.
No
limit on spaces.
No limit on
For regular
spaces. 2026, 2027.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Any potential future agenda items from the crew here?
I have nothing.
So upcoming dates, so February 15th, school board development meeting, 5 o'clock here at the district office.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
That's
So,
canceled.
That is.
thank you.
Not
Thank
like
Canceled.
Thought that's why we did buried tonight.
Yeah.
That's the first I've heard of that.
16A canceled.
Can you make that cancellation?
No, I did. I get the cancellation. I did.
All right, so B then, the next school board meeting, we did move to February 16th, 7 o'clock here at the district office, and then March 18th is the one following that.
All right. 17A per Wisconsin statute 19.851-C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. 1, approval of resignations, retirements, and terminations. 2, approval of appointments and contract modifications.
Second.
Convene to close session. Aye.
Aye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.